This track is called Invaders Must Die, and it's a live version, and it's something else.
You're giving me a love song, huh? Nice.
Yeah. tender love song. Invaders Must Die.
It's showtime, folks.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Into the Music. This is where I get into the music, not anything else, but into the music. John, are you
Over
ready?
the music, not under the music, into the music.
Into the music. Yeah, look at you laughing, devilish grin. What are you thinking about into the music? Where am I going with this? How you doing, John? Hey, this is what happens when you're sick for like 2 weeks and you're kind of like bedridden and you don't really have anyone to talk with. You forget how to like have a normal conversation.
Well, I'm doing well. Thank you very much for asking. And I've got a fantastic tune for you to listen to.
Oh, yeah. What you got? What you got?
So it's a band which I'm sure they have made it across the States. Very British band. They're called the Prodigy.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, you weren't expecting that from me, were you?
Well, I shouldn't be surprised. They were a Brit band from way back when, and big time electronic, almost like a rave, almost
Rave
like kind of
culture,
rave
yeah.
music, which big time stage presence, theatrical almost, yeah. Okay, that one guy, the one guy I remember, like just had kind of like
we're getting to that on the other side. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Okay.
So this track is called Invaders Must Die, and it's a live version, and it's something else.
You're giving me a love song, huh? Nice.
Yeah. tender love song. Invaders Must Die.
All right, let me go check it out. I'll come back. There he is.
Let me see ya. Yo. Yeah. Bring it on. Invaders gotta die. Yeah.
Gotta be in that crowd. Holy crap. What a live performance. The energy. Oof.
We ain't no fucking failure. Invaders must die. Invaders gotta die. Invaders must die. Listen. Everybody! Invaders must die! Order everybody, Milton Keynes! Let me hear you! Invaders must die! Everybody here tonight! Not loud enough! Every fucking body here! Louder! Again!
Yeah, that's the band that I remember seeing. I guess MTV did have them. There was a time, I forgot when, might have been late 90s maybe,
Yeah.
where they really hit their sort of popularity peak here in the United States, and you were seeing them a lot, um, which was really interesting. I think at that time though, after Oasis and other bands from the UK, it was almost like a British invasion round two. What was in the '60s first wave, and then they were like anything coming from the UK is just going to be gold, you know. And they had their, I guess maybe it would be a little insulting to say shtick, but you know, they definitely had their thing, you know, with that guy who's, you know, with the pointy hair and stuff like that. And then you had the other guy who was singing and doing that sing rap. I think the other guy with the pointy hair, I think he would sort of do his own vocals too. And to this pulsating, like this song was just pulsating. Like rave, I mentioned rave on the other side, you know, because that was my sort of remembrance, my memory of it, and like this is big time. Like, were they the founders of rave? Because I mean, rave is like a is raging, raving on right now in today, and it's almost like what, like an electronic sound that is kind of amped up a bit more
Yeah.
into like a dance thing,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of like, you know, um, and it allows the dancers, people who dance to it, to kind of be really uh you know, demonstrative in their moves and their motions and like that, you know, and they're kind of, but yeah, no, this was, and I mean, just the live performance itself. I mean, you gave me, you know, I don't know about the song itself. I mean, it was kind of pulsating, and it was entertaining, and it was
Yeah.
lively, and it was like a lot, you know, it has a lot that I like, you know, electronic
It's
sound, the
beautifully
whole
shot
thing.
as well, wasn't it? Really
It
well
was
shot.
beautifully shot, but like, just I wish I was in that audience because that
Yeah.
performance just seemed to be riveting, you know. Um, so yeah, I mean, overall, a thumbs up to just the whole overall thing, you know, the performance, the song, the music, everything.
Yeah, I mean, they were formed in Braintree, Essex in 1990. And as you say, they started off with a sort of rave and then were described as electro-punk, alternative dance and electronic rock. The rave culture sort of came out of the acid house culture, and, you know, and then onwards.
Yeah.
So the main guys, Liam Howlett, keyboards, synths, programming, guitars, bass, drums. He was the guy you sometimes saw playing the keys, and he's the main man, really. Keith Flint is the name of the guy with the spiky hair, who
Okay.
he was started off as a dancer, and then he started doing vocals in '97, I think. That was the album Fat the Lab, which had Firestarter on it, and Breathe and Smack the Bitch Up. Sadly, Keith's no longer with us. He died in 2019.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I should have done some research on it, but I think he died by his own hands. I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to say for definite, but I know he suffered from depression and stuff as well, which you wouldn't have thought. These guys,
Yeah.
someone who does often hide it with their outgoing
Yep.
performance.
Yep.
But he was an amazing guy, really was, and by all accounts, a man with a very big heart, you know. The guy singing the main bit's Maxim. He used to be called Maxim Reality. He dropped that. It's just Maxim now. Again, vocals and did beatboxing as well. Also playing live for this one, I believe, if I've got it right, Prodigy fans tell me if I'm wrong, was Rob Holiday on guitar and Leo Crabtree on drums. So they're massively successful. They're the most successful electronic band out of the UK. 25 million records sold worldwide. Not bad. As I say, that third album, Fat of the Land, was #1 in the UK and #1 in the USA as well. So a big, big album.
Yeah.
Invaders Must Die is from the title track of their 2009 album. This performance was 2010. Now, I say first off, I am not a dance music fan or a rave fan at all. But I've always liked the attitude of the Prodigy, and I see this as almost modern punk in the way they do it. It's just different instruments.
Yeah.
The attitude's there. I mean, it's a superb live performance. So massive amounts of energy. And they're really pumping it through. And I love it at the end with the crowd doing the "We Will Rock You" sort of clap and, you know, singing it. And it just, you know, it gets me pumped every time I see it. I mean, it's great. There's nothing wrong with that genre, and there'll be huge fans of it, and I'm glad it's there so people enjoy it. But, you know, I don't tend to go for sort of, you know, certain genres don't float my boat so much. Techno, stuff like that. Hate opera, you know. But some cut through genres, you know, Chemical Brothers do, definitely.
Yeah.
I think the Prodigy do as well. You know, they really, and other bands as well. I like the Orb, and there's a few, but yeah. So I just think they're kind of definitely when Firestarter and Breathe came out, they were definitely unique. There's others that copied them since. I mean, and you know, you only get little real small snippets of it, but the drummer is insane, absolutely brilliant. And there's a fan video where they do the drum tracks where they drum along to a track.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you see it in isolation. And I watched one where it was oh man, Block Party doing Banquet, and it's just brilliant seeing the drumming. And someone did it for this song, and the drumming, the bits he's doing, is just insane. And the fan sort of doing a drum track, it's just incredible. Gave me another appreciation of it. So yeah, I absolutely adore this. I thought you'd get a kick out of it. So a bit different, and maybe people on the channel will as well. I'm sure there are fans of the Prodigy out there watching the stuff. So yeah, let us know what you think.
Yeah, and it's interesting you said about the punk. I think that's probably the appeal to me too, is that because I don't know how if you're just if a band says, well, we're a rave band. I mean, I've heard rave music. I don't know. It's interesting personally for me for like maybe a minute, and then I'm like, okay. But for this band, it's almost as though they were a post-punk band. And emanating what was coming out of their music was like a rave kind of sound, and it was, you know. And it's funny, Chemical Brothers did flow through my head when I was listening to the song. You know, it is like that sort of Chemical Brothers sound where you're all like high up and down and crashing and back up and just repeat and repeat and repeat, and it just comes at you and comes at you. And this band, that music was kind of like that, you know, but with the vocals. So.
And they always make interesting musical choices as well. Chemical Brothers do as well. So there was something of interest within it, slightly different to the norm of that genre, you know.
But to get, you know, that guy, again, the gentleman who passed away, who was
Heath, yeah.
Yeah.
So in the video, you see him interaction with the fans. He's going along the
But
front.
that's what I remember of him. Like in every time they would be performing, they'd be on TV or whatever, and it's just he like, you know, and had like that piercing look, you know. And what struck me though in this one is how he was in the crowd and he was so comfortable being with the people, you know, and they were being good to him. And it was like, it was, And I don't know. I kept thinking like the guy who's singing is like, hey, you know, Hey, mate, why don't you jump up on the stage and help me out here?
I think they're
So,
probably used to it by that point,
yeah. And you said this was 2009? Oh, because I remember them like back in the late 90s and stuff.
Yeah, they're still going to this day, So
Even to this
I
day,
mean,
wow. Yeah.
yeah, they hit, well, so they hit sort of massive exposure in '97, and the album after this, I can't remember. I'm not a huge Prodigy fan, but did all right. Then they did an album that didn't do so well, and then they came back with Invaders Must Die, and that did much, much better. And they've done this, sold shed loads of albums. They're really popular, and as I say, still going. There's a really interesting thing that Liam did called the Prodigy Presents the Dirt Chamber Sessions, and it's basically mixtapes where he does little snippets of different songs and different genres.
Liam who?
Liam Howlett.
Okay.
And I absolutely adore that album because it mixes in sort of dance, hip hop, punk. There's some Sex Pistols in there. There's some Charlatans in there. There's all sorts of music. Yeah. And actually, one of the tracks starts off with Babe Ruth, the Mexican, and that got me into Babe Ruth. And I went and bought the album after that. Was hearing it on this mixtape from the Prodigy, so
that's fascinating.
It all goes around,
yeah. And did you ever see this band? Did you ever see them live? Yeah.
No, I didn't. I think I'd have been knackered after 10 minutes and had to go lie on a stretcher or something. It's too high energy for me.
Wow.
Unless I was like really young, by the time 97, I'd been 27.
Yeah, but they're older right now too. So I don't know how high powered energy. They may need to like take a nap, in between songs. You should go check them out if they're performing live again around there.
Yeah.
It'll be on me. I'll treat you. Go ahead. I'll fly over there. Out of all the bands, I'll be seeing the Prodigy. All right. So with that said, I'll take us out and say you have a good rest of the night. And to folks out there, if you like the song, like the reaction, hit the like button. Do that. Do that. You know you want to do it. Hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And in the meantime, we'll see all of you on the next episode of Into the Music.